Yeah. That's asymmetric right there.
It makes
Yeah.
you write it down and make it clearer too.
I'll tell you what, there's a great Cajun restaurant.
Now can you enlarge it a little?
Only by walking backwards. All right, check one.
Snooze fest. All righty, so let's talk a little bit. Am I a little hot there? Can you draw me down? Yeah, a little bit hot there. I can't remember. I'm in 2, I think. Check 1, 2. Thank you. There you go. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about Square View. Basically, what I'm going to talk about is how to get going and how to manage your files and how to do some simple things in Square View. I'm going to do that very quickly. And then I've discovered over the years of doing this, the best way to do a Square View presentation is to actually field questions, because everybody's got different questions. So we're gonna open it up for questions and answers here in a little bit. First of all, if you go to the GSI website, and let me let you know, there's 2 GSI websites. One is gsiinternational.com. The other one is gsicollerschool.com. That's the one that we're referring to each time we talk about the website. If you go to the website, on the website, there's a link or a drop down called Class Videos. Class was come on, close this door.
I'm closing.
Thank you. Class was what we did during, some of you might remember during COVID. 5 of us got together. Jeremy Butler kind of got us started on it. And then myself and Tony and Ted and Jeremy and Scott Bennett, we did a series of class videos. We called it the Corona Learning Assistance something or other class series. And we were doing it weekly. When we first started out, we were doing it twice a week, and then we slowed down and went to once a week. The 5 of us did the lion's share of the videos, and then then we would actually go out and get guest presenters. Those videos are available to you on the GSI College School website. A couple that are linked to the GSI College School website directly are 2 that was done by the inventor of this particular program, Square View, or some people call it SBView, they call it Square View. And Thomas Burnhead, he did 2 of those videos. Everything that I can tell you today will be in good detail on those videos. They're both about an hour long, and there is a question and answer series at the end of it, because we did use chat for questions and answers, and it's really cool. So if you want good information about Square View, go to those videos and take advantage of that. All right, so what I want to tell you when I start out, all right, the first thing I do, excuse me, the first thing I like to do is, Brad was talking about showmanship yesterday. I think part of our showmanship is the ability to organize ourselves and be prepared on stage to call. And that's exactly what Square View gives us the opportunity to do. Square View is a tool. It's probably one of the most important tools you have in your toolbox. Whether it be Square View or Cedar, the Cedar site or whatever. One of these particular programs is a very important tool because you can organize, maintain, and keep all your information about what you're calling, choreography, music, the whole 9 yards, in this one piece of software, and make it easily accessible to you. If you remember the days of records, in the days of records, we would sit there and pull out a handful of records and thumb through the records and set them up, and, in the order of what we're going to call that particular evening or whatever the case may be. Well, you can do the same thing in Square View. We're going to talk about it's called Playlist. It's a great tool, and it improves your showmanship on stage. One of the things I hate the worst is to go to a dance and the caller says, okay, what singing call am I going to do now? And he starts thumbing through the singing calls and spends about a minute and a half until he runs into one and says, oh, okay, we're going to do this one. Have you been there? You seen that? Yeah, happens all the time. And it's important to you to not waste the dancer's time and to be prepared. So using Square View effectively will allow you to do that. So the first thing I do is I create, in my particular situation, I like putting things on my desktop. I'm not one that likes to go through the file explorer and find things. You know, to me, that takes a lot of time. You got to go through this subdirectory and that subdirectory and that subdirectory. I create things on my C drive or whatever, but then I put shortcuts on my desktop because this is what I use for calling square dances. Okay, I've got folder. This folder's down here, and I know it's hard to see there, but this folder down here is called Teaching Programs. Okay, and I have within the teaching programs, I have files that I use. It's like teaching plans, and that's an Excel file right there on the bottom. It's called teaching plans. When I open this Excel file, and I teach a lot. I teach 2 beginner lessons. I teach advanced and C1. So on the bottom of this particular file, I have tabs for each one of my groups. I'm not teaching C2 anymore this year, so I don't have anything going on. But I taught advanced earlier this year, and I go in. This is the order I would teach it, okay? And it's really close to the Color Lab suggested order. So I might do a little flip-flop in, or if I got to change something or something like that. But for the most part, it's really close to the Color Lab suggested teaching orders. Well, right now I'm almost to the end of teaching A2 this year, all right? Everything that's color-coded, all right, in like the brown, that's stuff I still need to teach for the rest of the year. Anything that might be white is things I've already taught. I can go ahead and use those right away. The yellow is what I worked on last week. So that would tell me, okay, I got to review that. I got to spend a little bit more time reviewing that during that particular lesson. All right, I do the same thing with my C1. Okay, we're almost finished with the C1. Actually, thanks to Ken Ratucci, he finished it for me because most of my C1 people went to his blast last week. So I sent him that list. I said, hey, do these first. Then I don't have to teach them. But I will. So anyway, that. Now my 2 plus mainstream plus clubs are right here. And you can see both of those are almost to the end. Now, if you look at this particular teaching order, it's not the Color Lab teaching order. This is the new proposal teaching. And I kind of went in as a case study this year, on my personal case study, and I took what we know as mainstream, and then I took what we think is going to be plus. Just me. I didn't share this with anybody, and it didn't go on Facebook. But some of you knew about that, huh? Yeah. But what basically this is this is where I am, and you notice I've got dates on there. So anyway, this is how I make my file. We can talk about that later. All right, and it's going to come into play here in a little bit. So this is how I make my teaching file. I go in each week. Usually I do it at the end of the night. I go in and clean this up and update it, okay? Because later, when we talk about Square View, it's actually going to point to that file in Square View. I also have a file called Choreo, only because I was afraid to spell choreography incorrectly. And within the Choreo, I have Choreo. Okay, I've got A2 choreo, assorted stuff. That might be like some asymmetric stuff and stuff like that. C1, C2. I've got my choreo writer programs that are in there, like SD, things like that. Then I got mainstream choreo plus choreo S. That's my SD program, and I got Camination, so I can get all that stuff right away. Basically, let's take. Let's just do the A2, just for example. So within the A2, I have 2 files. The first file is a PowerPoint. So I'm going to open up the PowerPoint. And basically the PowerPoint is nothing more than each slide is a get out, okay? These are all get outs. Each slide is a get out. I put things at the top of the get out. For example, partner line, okay, we all know what partner line is, rotated 1/2, okay, with the girls out of sequence. And I even put a little picture there so I can see it really quick, okay? And then what I've done is I've taken my checkers, when I wrote this guide, I took my checkers and worked backwards because I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to finish it up with this really cool transfer into centers, wheel and deal, and everybody be home, right? So that was what I wanted to do on this. So I worked backwards. I came up with this little thing here, and what it does is it finishes up with everybody at home. But I had to know that first. I had to make sure I was starting it in the right place. I just didn't start it with a simple partner line. I had to have the partner line somewhere, and I had to have the girls out of sequence. So that's a little bit harder to get out. All right, let's go. Here's the really simple one. Okay, this starts in the corner box at home. That's pretty easy. All right, and then I do that. That's going to be my get out. Okay, I have a plethora of get outs.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a plethora of get outs, and I have them color coded. If you notice that, I bet you the purple ones are corner boxes, the green ones are partner lines. All right, and then I even have some way down here, some white ones, which are at-home get-outs. And you know, at-home get-outs are really, really cool these days. You know, our square dancing has evolved. Used to be everything was left out of man to a right and left crank, right? Our square dancers aren't big on that anymore. And especially if you're calling it dance and above, if you started right and left grand at home, it wouldn't surprise me if they just skipped the right and left grand and stay there. Hardaway's shaking her head, yes, she knows that. Yeah. So anyway, again, you know, you want to write nice get outs and things like that. Okay, so let's just move on from that. So I've got this nice PowerPoint with all these different get outs. All right, what I do, and this comes into play later, let me open that back up. What I do when I get my file set up, I may go in and add some new ones, you know, as I go to Scott Bennett's dance and he does something really cool. I'm going to research it and I'm going to say, yeah, that's going in my file. And I'll come home, I'll go home and I'll add it to this and put it in there and build it up. What I'll do afterwards, once I got my file ready, there's a little thing up here at the top where I can hit Adobe Acrobat and I save it as a PDF. Okay? You want to save it as a PDF. And that'll come into play here in a few minutes. Let's see what else I got over here. Pattern. Singing calls. Like this file, this folder has all my pattern. Okay? And on this particular computer, my other computer, which I call it my Square Dance computer, this is my travel computer. My Square Dance computer, the one I use at home for all my home clubs and everything, has got all kinds of music on it. This only has my travel stuff, you know, and basically whatnot, so I don't have as many on there. But I've got all my patterns in one folder, okay? And you can see all the different labels. I got a lot of OCD on me, and so I actually go in, if they come not named correctly, I go in and I put the label first, and then you can see how neat that is, and then I'll change it, you know, roll a 449, whale diggity, and there'll be a little dash in there, because that's the way it's going to show up in Square View later on. I'm sorry, question? No, this is not PowerPoint. This is just a folder on my computer that has all my MP3s of these are just the MP3s. Yeah, this is my music. Right?
Organization.
Yeah, it's just the music, right? All right. So anyhow, so I'll put that in a folder I call pattern. This comes into play later. Then I have another folder called singing calls. And guess what's in there? All my singing calls, right? Simple as that. It's easy. I've seen some callers have all their pattern and their singing calls in the same folder. And to me, that's a mess. You know, you got to start going through and figuring out and digging in and all that kind of stuff. Use the computer. Use the folders. You know, a computer is just like what we used to do. You know, when we had a filing cabinet. You know, when we had filing cabinets and we used to open the filing cabinets up with all the folders inside the filing cabinet, that's just exactly what the computer does, but it does it digitally. Okay? You know, so use it for what it's worth. So anyway, I create all these folders, and then of course I have my folder that is the Square View folder, right? And within Square View folder, I have my lyrics folder, you know, for all my lyrics. So we know that's there, all right?
For you?
So, now that I've created all these folders, now I'm going to open up my Square View. And this is where it gets to be fun, okay? Now, I've done something, not every caller does this. You know, you can, I don't know if you know this, but you can go in and change the level. Right here on the top tab, you can go in and change the level. If you notice that drop down, gives you basic, mainstream, plus, advanced 1, advanced 2, challenge 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever they got. And you can change your level to any one of those. Right now it's on challenge. Let's say I want to change it to advanced. Okay? The biggest advantage of changing it from one level to the other is to get to the list and to get to the definitions. Okay? Those are the only biggest advantages. So when I change it to A2, then I go over to the definitions tab, say I want to review a definition. I generally try to review my definitions each time I teach. So if I know I'm teaching square through 4 tonight, I'm going to go into my definitions and read that again to see if anything's changed, because I keep the definitions up to date, all right, and whatnot. So that's one good thing, and the other thing is the list. You know, it shows the teaching order and whatnot. So, and that's the biggest advantage of changing from program to program. Also, if you've got the older versions, there is a choreography tab. Here we go. Choreo. Well, has anybody ever seen this in their Square View?
No.
Yeah, the newer versions you don't see this. You have to go out and get it somewhere and put it in there. What this is a bunch of choreo. How many of you been to the Vic Cedar website? If you haven't been to the Vic Cedar, cedar.net website, you're missing out on a wealth of information. Okay, so cedar.net, and basically it kind of looks like the cedar.net, and it's just got a bunch of cool choreography for all the different levels, and it's not proven. Sometimes I come across something that's not correct, so you got to prove it with your checkers. But if it helps you out, it helps you out. You can go through. There's your, and it's old, obviously old because it says 0 box get out, right? Okay, but it's got a lot of choreo. It's got the 0 box, the 0 line. If you keep going down, singing call figures for whatever level you're working on, and then just straight cards, written cards, home to home. Anyway, so that's the only biggest advantages of having tabs. Now what I do is I kind of keep it on one tab. What I've done is if you look at the tabs across the top, and I know it's hard to see there, but when you look at your Square View, if you look at the tabs across the top, you can create as many tabs as you want, up to a certain amount, I think. I can't remember what the title is. And you can create these tabs. Now my tabs across the top, the first one is teaching plans. Now you remember that Excel sheet that I did earlier? Now I brought it into Square View. I don't have to open another program. I can just use Square View. So when I go to teach my class and I open up Square View, the next thing I do is I go to my teaching plans. And let's say tonight is my Venus and Mars. That's the name of that club, VM. They're called Venus and Mars. And that's their teaching schedule. So I know on June 26th, which was tomorrow, right?
That would be which is.
Yeah, which is tomorrow. Yeah, which is tomorrow. So on June 26th, I have a guest caller from back home teaching my class tomorrow night. She's going to teach those 4 calls, those green calls. Okay? Everything before that has already been taught. And then the rest of the stuff is already scheduled out right now, but of course the schedule might change. But what I did to get that there is I created that Excel sheet earlier, right? And that's where I go in and do my updates. Then, when I'm ready to load that up into Square View, The first thing you do is over here to the left, and it's just going through a File Explorer, just like anything else. You click on the thing File, and then you just go through your Explorer till you find that particular. Okay, mine was on the desktop, correct? Because I told you I saved everything on the desktop, so it's a lot easier. I go down to the desktop, I find the one that says Teaching Programs, I open that up, and then I'm going to just choose the Excel sheet that I update all the time. I'm going to choose that Excel sheet. I'm going to hit open, and it's going to load into, I don't want to open it there. It's going to load into SquareView. And now, once you tell it once you give it that path the first time, and say you open up SquareView and it's not there, you don't have to go through that all the time. You can come over here to this other icon down at the bottom that says reload. And you click on reload, and it reloads anything that you had in that path, that file path from previous.
Where's the reload icon?
It should be the bottom left. Do, 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 do. You gotta go to one of these tabs first. There you go. And there's the reload. Yeah, you have to go to a tab. Okay? And it's within one of your tabs. It's not in the main screen. Anyway, so that's what happens. Then if you look down at the bottom of the file that you put in here, it's got the same tabs on the bottom. I got my advanced, I got my C1, my C2, and both my plus clubs.
But you do have to go back out to that Excel folder and update the folder after you.
Correct. You need to update your folder, yeah. You need to update your Excel file.
Right. It wouldn't update from there, nothing. It won't work.
No, you don't update it from SquareView. You update it. But the cool thing is, when you close SquareView and open it back up, it brings up the most recent one.
Right.
Or if you hit the reload, say you've got SquareView open and you decide to go in and clean up your Excel sheet, you save it and then you close it. Then when you reopen it or you hit that reload, it brings up the newest file. Okay? Very good. One thing I failed to mention earlier, I forgot on the Excel sheet. When you do the Excel sheet, so you have it open. Let's just give you an example. Let's say, all right, so I know Pam's going to teach these calls tomorrow. So when I go into my class next week, I'm going to put those in yellow just because I know I have to do it. And I'm going to put July 3rd here. I'm going to put them in green. Anybody understand why I do the color coding? I can see it quickly. Yeah, it just, it gives me a quick visual. All I got to do is look down and say, okay, I'm teaching all the green, I'm reviewing all the yellow. Everything in white could be my first tip of the night, okay, because they're supposed to already know all that stuff. Supposed to. But, so anyway, so let's just say I just did that, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit save, okay? Here's something I forgot to tell you earlier. Because the SquareView sees HTML files and PDF files better. I told you I saved the PowerPoint into a PDF. The Excel, you need to save it as an HTML file. So I'll go over here and I'll do a save a copy. I'll come over here and I'll pick, just basic computer use. I'll come over here and I'll pick the web page, which is HTML or HTML. I'll click it. I'm going to save it as that. I'm going to hit save. I'm going to answer whatever stupid question it asks me. Yes. Okay. And it saved it as an HTML. All right. And that's what this guy here is, the teaching plans. But you're still choosing that one. And so I just saved it, right? I just updated it and saved it. But it still looks like it was. I'm going to come over here and hit reload. Boom. And it didn't reload. It cheated on me. Oh, no, it did. I just had the wrong tab. And then now it's there in my SquareView. So I don't have to have another file open. I can just go to my SquareView and do that. Okay. I do the same thing with all my get outs. Okay. Earlier I created the PowerPoints and saved them as PDF. Then I went in to my File Explorer, hit File, I picked the one that I needed, blah, blah, blah. I got several. I'll show those in a minute. But I got several. I picked the one that I needed, which was the plus get outs, and then I saved it in there, and it shows in there. And you can just simply tab down till you find the one you want. I like to, especially when I'm calling a dance, I like to theme a tip. And I know most of our coaches have been talking about this week, you know, theming something. I think when somebody did the programming session, they talked about theming tips throughout the night. Okay, yeah, that's right. I'll be out here in 5 minutes. So when we talk about theming the tip, okay, I like to go in and pick my get outs first, 2 or 3 get outs for that tip, and so I'll use those, whatever's in that get out. Say for example, I'm gonna do this particular get out, okay, and it's got some really weird stuff on the load the boat. I got like centers go 3.5 and swing through while the ends roll. So I'm gonna theme that during my pattern a little bit before I use it as a get out. I'm not gonna launch this get out cold because most dancers won't get it the first time. I gotta let them learn it first, and then I'll launch the get out later. So I'll use my get outs. I'll look at these get outs first. But anyway, so that's what I have there. So I have all these get outs, and I've got across the top. Okay, I've set it up to where I have everything in one fold or one program. I don't have to change program every time I want one. I don't have to go to advanced or plus or mainstream. I got them all at the top. I got mainstream, plus, A2. I don't have any cards A2 right now. C1 get outs, C1 cards, because I do a lot of reading at C1. I got 6 couple plus. How many of you gone to a dance and needed 6 couples? Yeah, maybe you're short. Yeah. I've got a whole bunch of 6 couple choreography that I've either written or researched over the years. And then I got some mainstream extended stuff, some really cool things, maybe some asymmetrics. And I even have some DVD style get outs. That's weird. All right. But anyway, so I'll put all those across the top. So that's what we're going to do there. All right? So that's what I do with my tabs. That's how I create those. And by the way, this will be on the website, this whole presentation. Okay? All right? As far as everything else, you saw where I put the music, right? I had a file for my pattern. I had a file for my singing calls. All right? So that's what goes into these 3 boxes. My first 2 boxes will be singing calls. My 3rd box will be all my pattern. You can go into one of the settings, and I can't go into every setting and show those to you, but you can go into one of the settings and choose which box you want to be where, okay? Play with it. It's a free program. If you screw it up, delete it and download it again. Serious, yeah. Or there's also a setting that says return everything to default settings, okay? So if you change a bunch of things, you can always go back to default. So play with it. I used to do this at work when I was working, because it made me look busy. In meetings, I'm behind my computer. I'm learning square view while we're talking business. Yes, sir.
So you're editing the song and you're changing the pitch or the tempo.
Here, say that so everybody can hear you.
Say you're editing the song and you're changing the pitch or the tempo and then you hit the save. It's not actually manipulating the MP3 file, it's saving it in the database under those settings and everything.
Under those settings, correct.
Okay, I got
Yeah,
you.
it's not changing the MP3 file. It's just changing the settings for that particular MP3 file. If you open it up in another time or use another program to open it up, the file will stay the same. So you're not altering your file, which is a good thing. You don't want to mess up your...
Cue sheets, when you edit your cue sheets, they only stay in square view, but when you go back into your, the music that you ordered, the cue sheet will be the original.
I'm not sure. If you edit a cue sheet,
On square view, I
Right.
edit my cue sheet so that it's
Sure.
I like everything in place the way it goes. I don't wanna be going back up to the, I just want
Right,
it.
so when you edit a Q sheet in SquareView, it's gonna save the new Q sheet the way you edit it.
It's square, but
Right.
it's not gonna change it in the original file.
No, it'll change it in the original file, because it's pulling from the original file.
So the original file will be edited.
Yes,
also.
yeah, the original file, what, the file that's in SquareView, that's what SquareView brings up. When you do this, she's talking about, editing singing, or editing the Q sheets of singing calls. If you pull up, and there's a way to do that, if you pull up that you're gonna edit a Q sheet, all right? For example, let's pull up a Q sheet, let's pull up Old Fashioned Love Song. Okay, let's go to the directory and find it. So here's an Old Fashioned Love Song, all right? And then you got this edit thing right here, all right? If I want to go in and edit this, display the edit dialog, if I want to go in and edit this, it actually brings up the file that was in SquareView. The file that's, it's in that database that's SquareView. And if you go up and you change it, for
Oh, so
example.
it's changed forever then.
Yes,
You might want to go in and do a duplicate of that file and save on save.
Don't you worry about it, because she's only gonna use that one, she's only gonna use that file.
yeah,
So the fact that it changes it globally, it's not gonna affect your file.
Yeah, but I know that for her, she ever wanted to reference back to it, she could have a permanent save file of the original.
well, you could do a backup, or you could go to Tom Spurhead's website and download a new file, because he's always updating those singing calls. And if you need, you buy a new record from Royal Records, it's not gonna be in Tom Spurhead's database right now, because it's a brand new record. It might take him 3-4 months. So he does updates all the time on those, okay?
Well, I don't have a question, but I did want to tell her. I wanted to tell her how I do it. Is that okay
No,
with
it's not,
you?
this is the question.
I did. I was trying to tell you, you can save it in capitals and then you have both.
Oh
But
yeah, you can save it as a new file name.
yeah,
Then you're
yeah.
not messing it.
Oh,
You could have gone over and sat next to her and told her.
I know. But
No, what she's saying is, you can actually save it as a new file name. You could say Old Fashioned Love Song 2, put a number 2 behind it, and then you have both. Then you have to go in and pull it up for,
so I barely managed to just find the lyrics and I can't even find them sometimes.
So let me show you, I'm glad you brought that up. All right, so Tony just put out this song, Old Fashioned Love Song, okay? All right, we don't have a cue sheet for that yet. Hadn't done vocal, hadn't done a cue sheet, any of that kind of stuff, okay? And he sent it to me so I can practice because I'm on the label, right? So what I need is a cue sheet. So I might go in and pick an old cue sheet, because it was done before. And I'll pick, huh? Oh yeah, definitely not there. It's good, right? So but I just might want it so I could have the lyrics or whatever. All right. So I can come over here, and you can see I just pulled this one up. I don't know why it's not coming up in that other format, but anyway. So what I did was I came over here because when I clicked on it before, it didn't come up. So I came over here and got this box. All right. A lot of times, if you haven't married a cue sheet to a file, this box will come up.
I still struggle with this.
Okay, well, I'm going to show you how not to struggle, okay? There's 2 things you can do. First of all, you can search for it by name, okay? Just an old-fashioned love song. And guess what? Nothing's coming up in the database, okay? The database was there. There's also a thing called directory. You can search for it in directory. So now I'm searching by name in the directory. One came up. Okay, so I might want to use that. Let's say you don't have it in the you can't find it that way. Sometimes these producers change the names of the songs. Instead of just an old-fashioned love song, they might say old-fashioned love song. So the just is gone. And if you search for exactly what you're asking for, so you might want to search a little bit different, or you can search by the label number. All right. Right now, there's no label number on this particular call, so you're not going to see anything in there. But once you find the one you want, all right, then you just click on that, hit OK. It brings that up. So the next time I go back and double click on this old-fashioned love song, and I hit play, that Q sheet came up. Make sense?
You have to save it and save it once it comes up.
Yes, it'll ask you to save it.
But most of the time, I don't know why, but when I search it, it doesn't show anything, so then I have to go and say, search my desktop and open up the file that I have, that I bought the music from, and open up the Q sheet from
You
there.
need to say, when you buy a new song, you need to save that Q sheet.
Into a folder.
In Square View under text.
Yes, under text. Save that Q sheet into a thing called text. That's where the database for all the Q sheets are. Or I have a separate one.
Jack, show her.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
she
don't
probably
know.
knows, but
I
just for
have
everybody,
very
how
little
you
technical.
marry-
We got another question back
Okay.
here, but we're gonna have to hurry.
Yeah, let's move on. These are things that I promise you, if you open up those files, those Thomas Burnhead files on our website, these questions will be answered.
I don't know if you can help with this or not, but I bought a new computer. It's Windows 11. I went in and downloaded the file for it, which it had a date June 20th, 25, and
Wow.
extracted the file, and it says all you have to do is open Square View, and it's supposed to set things up, but nothing happens. So, any suggestion?
I've seen it.
Yeah, we've had this issue before. Let me get back to you on that one. I've seen another caller had that problem. I can't remember what we had to do to fix that. I'll have to think about it.
Add
Huh?
on to that,
Yeah.
yeah, the new 84 to iOS is too current for the, wherever you work.
Yeah, there's something to do, and that's a computer thing. So guys, we could go all day long with questions on this. Ask me on the side, because you guys need to get into your room so you can get a little calling in. And this group here can get a little calling in before 11:30. But I appreciate your time. There's tons of things you can do, but use this to your advantage. Use this this Square View tool to make you a better caller, to have all your stuff organized. That's all it is. It's just a filing cabinet. It's an organization thing for you. Use it. All right?
Jack, well,
Okay.
the presentation, or the videos from the creator are on which one, the GSI website?
Yeah, it's on the GSICallerschool.com.
Fantastic.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, guys.